My boss made $200,000 off my recipes while paying me minimum wage, then fired me for not having credentials. So I smiled, walked out, and watched her burn her career on live television. For 6 years, I made Stella Price look like a genius. Every recipe on her blog, every technique in her cooking videos, every secret family method she claimed came from her Italian grandmother, I created all of it. She couldn't dice an onion without cutting herself. I know because I've bandaged her fingers more times than I can count. It started when I was 19, fresh out of culinary school with $47,000 in debt and no job prospects. Stella hired me as a kitchen assistant for her small food blog. The pay was minimum wage, but she promised exposure and career opportunities. She was already semi-popular back then. 50,000 followers who loved her aesthetic, the rustic kitchen, the vintage aprons, the warm smile that made you trust her completely. My first day, she asked me to help develop a pasta recipe. I spent 4 hours perfecting a cacio e pepe while she took photos of herself pretending to stir the pot. When it went viral the next week, she didn't mention my name once. That should have been my first sign, but I was young and desperate, so I stayed. Over the years, I developed every single recipe while Stella took the credit. Her cookbook deal with Hartfield Publishing, the one that came with a $200,000 advance, was built entirely on my work. Her sold-out cooking classes where she charged $500 per person. I taught those while she floated around taking selfies with students. Her sponsorship deals with kitchen brands happened because my recipes actually worked. She paid me $18 an hour, no benefits, no credit, no contract stating I'd created anything. Last month, 2 weeks before her cookbook was set to launch, Stella called me into her home office, the room where she recorded her behind-the-scenes videos that never showed me. Vernon, she said, not looking up from her phone, I'm making some changes. Hiring a real chef for the book tour, someone with credentials, a culinary degree from Europe, the publishers think it'll look better. I have a culinary degree, I said quietly, from Lincoln Community College. She finally looked at me, her expression pitying. It's not the same. Anyway, today's your last day. I'll pay you through Friday. Something strange happened then. I didn't feel angry. I felt calm. Perfectly crystalline calm. Understood, I said. I walked out of that office. That night, Stella posted an announcement. Her cookbook launch would include a live cooking demonstration on Good Morning Denver. She'd be preparing 3 signature dishes from the book. The post got 15,000 likes in an hour. I know Stella. I know that she doesn't actually cook. She can barely follow a recipe written by someone else, let alone recreate one from memory. She's never had to because I was always there, prepping ingredients, fixing her mistakes, making sure everything looked perfect before the cameras started rolling. The morning of her television appearance, I woke up at 5 a.m. out of habit. For 6 years, I'd been waking up at this hour to prep for Stella's shoots. Today, I made myself breakfast and watched. The segment started well enough. Stella looked radiant in a cream linen dress, her signature rustic apron tied perfectly. The hosts were charming and excited. The cookbook sat prominently on the counter, my recipes bound inside it under her name. So Stella, the host said, let's start with your famous brown butter sage gnocchi. Walk us through it. I watched Stella's smile freeze for just a moment before recovering. Of course, it's actually quite simple. It's not simple. It takes years of practice to get the potato to flour ratio right, to know when the dough has the correct texture, to understand that you can't overwork it, or the gnocchi becomes rubbery. Stella dumped flour into a bowl with boiled potatoes and started kneading aggressively. Within 30 seconds, I could see the dough becoming tough and elastic, completely wrong. She tried to roll it out, but it kept springing back. She laughed nervously. It's the altitude here in Denver, makes everything a bit tricky. The hosts laughed along, but I saw their confusion. Then came the brown butter sauce. Brown butter requires constant attention. You pull it off the heat the moment it hits that nutty golden stage. Too early and it's just melted butter. Too late and it burns, turns acrid and bitter. Stella left it on the stove while she struggled with the gnocchi. By the time she remembered, smoke was rising from the pan. The hosts exchanged glances. One of them stepped in to open a window. Let's move to the dessert, Stella said brightly, abandoning the ruined butter. Her famous olive oil cake, the one that requires you to whip the eggs and sugar for exactly 6 minutes until they triple in volume, creating that signature light texture. Stella dumped everything into a mixer and turned it on high. 30 seconds later, she poured the flat, underwhipped mixture into a pan. By the time the segment ended, nothing was edible. The hosts were professional about it, but their enthusiasm had died. The final shot showed Stella's strange smile next to 3 dishes that looked like they'd been made by someone who'd never cooked before, because she hadn't. My phone started buzzing that afternoon. Former students from her classes, people who'd bought the cookbook, food bloggers who'd praised her work. All of them were posting their failed attempts to recreate her recipes. Stella called me 47 times that first week. I didn't answer. Her publisher called. I didn't answer. Her lawyer sent a letter suggesting I'd sabotaged her. My response was simple. I stopped working for you. What happened after that isn't sabotage, it's just you. Within a month, Hartfield Publishing had pulled her cookbook from stores.